Welcome to Gray Matter Reports. Today, we decode the complex reality of events that unfold around us. The air was thick with a dense silence, punctuated only by the faint hum of fluorescent lights. Shadows clung to the corners of the room, reluctant to reveal the truth hidden within. A stark contrast lay in the sterile environment, where the clinical nature of the space belied the chaos it once held. Each object in the room became an echo of the life once woven through these walls. The furniture, unscathed yet untouched, carried an eerie weight. A worn chair, slightly askew, seemed to recall the last moments of an individual who once occupied it. The positioning spoke volumes, a narrative written in the subtlety of placement. Biological evidence, nestled in the crevices of the floorboards, whispered stories of unresolved tension. It served as a testament to the complexities of human interaction. A fingerprint, smudged yet discernible, bore witness to an encounter that spiraled into the abyss. It was a fragment of a larger puzzle, perhaps a reflection of the subject's internal turmoil. Analyzing the scene, one could discern the paradox of guilt woven into the fabric of the individual's psyche. Guilt manifests not merely as a response to actions taken, but as an echo of conscience, reverberating through time and space. Each item in this room acted as a mirror, reflecting the unresolved conflicts that lingered in the shadows of morality. The walls stood as silent sentinels, absorbing the weight of decisions made under duress. They bore witness to the frailty of human nature, a duality of light and dark. The individual's choices, now etched in the silence, played out like a haunting melody, each note resonating with the consequences of a life unmoored from empathy. As the investigation unfolded, the landscape of the mind became a focal point. Here, the clinical analysis of behavioral patterns revealed the chasms of understanding. The subject, ensnared in a web of their own making, exhibited traits that contradicted societal norms. This dissonance birthed a profound sense of isolation, a fracture that deepened with each passing moment of introspection. In this labyrinth of thought, guilt flared like a candle in the dark. It illuminated the psyche, revealing the fissures created by choices made in haste. The paradox lay in the realization that the very act of evading responsibility became a prison of conscience. The subject, entangled in their own narratives, faced a reckoning that loomed as large as the shadows that enveloped the room. The crime scene was not merely a location, it was a tableau of the human condition, a somber reminder of the echoes of conscience that linger long after the last note has faded away. The individual before us is a product of intersecting histories, a tapestry woven from threads of trauma and neglect. Born into a fractured environment, their early years were marked by a cacophony of instability. Each discordant note, an absent parent, a constant change of residence, etched itself into their developing psyche. The echoes of a chaotic childhood reverberate through their adult life, creating an antisocial profile that defies easy categorization. At school, they navigated a minefield of social interactions. Shunned by peers, the individual resorted to solitude, crafting a world within the confines of their mind. This isolation became both refuge and prison, a paradox of safety and despair. With each passing year, the walls grew thicker. Friends were replaced by fantasies, and reality blurred into a shadowy existence. The individual learned to mask emotions, donning a facade of indifference that belied the turmoil beneath. Psychological evaluations later revealed a dissonance between thoughts and feelings. The presence of biological evidence suggested a predisposition toward emotional dysregulation. Neurochemical imbalances, present from early adolescence, compounded the challenges of navigating relationships. This led to a vicious cycle, where attempts at connection were met with misunderstanding, reinforcing a belief in the futility of intimacy. Trust became a foreign concept, a distant star that remained perpetually out of reach. Yet, within this complex web of influences, there existed a flicker of self-awareness. The individual grappled with questions that haunted them, a constant refrain of guilt and remorse. A paradoxical conscience emerged, one that recognized the impact of their actions while simultaneously detaching from the emotional weight. In this state of cognitive dissonance, guilt transformed into a specter, lurking in the shadows, a reminder of lost potential. As the individual transitioned into adulthood, the consequences of their past began to crystallize. Jobs were fleeting, relationships ephemeral. Each failure added another layer to their already burdened psyche. The world viewed them with suspicion, and in return they recoiled, further entrenching their antisocial profile. Yet within the confines of their solitude, a deep-seated longing for connection persisted. It was this longing that would drive them to the precipice of choices that would irrevocably alter the course of their life. In the clinical silence of self-reflection, the individual became a case study of a fractured identity. The paradox of guilt, initially a whisper, transformed into a relentless echo. Each decision weighed heavily, a collision of conscience and consequence. The true complexity of their narrative lay not in the actions taken, but in the haunting awareness of the life that could have been, a life untainted by the shadows of their past. The investigation unfolded like a meticulously woven tapestry, each thread revealing the intricate patterns of human behavior. Detectives moved through the sterile rooms of the precinct, their faces lit by the harsh glow of fluorescent lights. Each flicker emphasized the weight of their task, the burden of understanding the unfathomable. In the midst of the chaos, they turned to data, the cold, unyielding language of biology. Biological evidence became the cornerstone of the inquiry. It wasn't just about what had occurred, it was about why. The forensic team collected samples, each one a whisper of the individual's identity. DNA, hair strands, and trace materials spoke volumes, revealing connections that transcended the physical. This was not merely a puzzle, it was a reflection of the psyche. The detectives scrutinized the antisocial profile. Psychological evaluations painted a portrait of the individual, a complex interplay of nature and nurture. The mind, in its fractured state, was both a labyrinth and a mirror. Guilt, that insidious specter, loomed large in the shadows of the investigation. It gnawed at the edges of every hypothesis, questioning the motivations that drove the individual. Was it a compulsion, a chemical imbalance, or a conscious choice? Each possibility felt like a double-edged sword, cutting through the layers of evidence. As the investigation progressed, the team encountered a series of interviews with those close to the individual. Each testimony was a window into a life marred by conflict. The nuances of guilt emerged, not just as an emotional response, but as a catalyst for behavior. Friends and family recounted moments of strife, revealing a tapestry of regret and remorse woven through their interactions. The detectives noted the conflicting emotions, love intermingled with fear, loyalty clouded by betrayal. The somber reality settled in. The investigation was not only about the individual's actions, but also about the ripples they created. Each ripple distorted perceptions, reshaping lives beyond recognition. The detectives grappled with the paradox of guilt. It could serve as a prison or a pathway to redemption. In the sterile confines of the precinct, the team remained vigilant, piecing together the fragments. They understood that the case conclusion would not merely encapsulate a sequence of events. It would entail a profound exploration of human morality, a confrontation with the very essence of conscience. As the clock ticked on, the tension thickened. The truth awaited, cloaked in shadows, demanding to be unveiled. The courtroom was a cavernous space, echoing with the weight of collective anticipation. Shadows clung to the high ceilings, amplifying the somber atmosphere. The subject sat at the defense table, a portrait of stoic detachment, eyes fixed on the wood grain of the desk. Surrounding them were jurors, each person a silent witness to the unfolding narrative. The prosecuting attorney rose, voice steady but laced with urgency. What we have here is a complex web of decisions, a labyrinth of moral choices. Each word hung in the air, palpable with tension. The audience leaned forward, drawn into the intricate dance of human psychology. Biological evidence had been presented meticulously, yet the real battle lay beyond the tangible. It resided within the fragile psyche of the subject, a landscape marred by the echoes of conscience. The attorney painted a portrait of an antisocial profile, a mind driven by impulses that seemed to dance just beyond the reach of societal norms. As the defense attorney countered, a clinical dissection of guilt emerged. "What is guilt?" they asked, voice soft yet firm. "Is it an innate response or a construct shaped by society?" The question reverberated through the room, igniting a flicker of introspection among the jurors. The defense argued that the subject was not merely a product of their choices, but a culmination of biological and environmental factors. a marionette with unseen strings. Witnesses took the stand, each testimony a fragment of a larger puzzle. Some spoke of a troubled childhood, a narrative steeped in neglect and turmoil. Others recounted chilling encounters, weaving a tapestry of fear and misunderstanding. The audience absorbed every detail, each revelation a thread tightening around the narrative's core. The subject remained impassive, a mask of neutrality shielding the tempest within. Were they aware of the implications of their actions? Did the weight of their choices haunt them in the quiet of the night? As the trial progressed, the paradox of guilt unfurled like a dark flower, its petals revealing both the fragility and resilience of the human psyche. As the closing arguments began, the air thickened with unresolved tension. "This isn't just about actions," the prosecuting attorney asserted. "It's about understanding the depths of accountability." The phrase hung heavily, a reminder that the intersection of guilt and conscience is rarely clear-cut. The jury's deliberation loomed ahead, a crucible forged in the fires of moral ambiguity. In the end, the trial was more than a pursuit of justice. It was an exploration of the human condition, a reflection on the choices that define us. Each heartbeat echoed a question: what is the cost of conscience? And as the gavel fell, the answer remained shrouded in the shadows of uncertainty. The aftermath hangs heavy in the air, a lingering fog of unresolved emotions. The case conclusion reverberates through corridors of justice, a stark reminder of the complexities of human nature. In the wake of the investigation, the subject's profile emerges, a mosaic of contradictions. Guilt is an elusive whisper, often drowned out by the clamor of rationalization. It sits at the edge of consciousness, a shadowy figure that taunts those who dare to confront it. For the individuals who tread the line between right and wrong, guilt manifests as a dual-edged sword. It can both paralyze and propel, a constant struggle within the psyche. The psychological landscape of the antisocial profile is riddled with paradoxes. On one hand, there exists a chilling detachment from societal norms, a calculated approach to life's complexities. On the other, an undercurrent of remorse brews beneath the surface, often surfacing in moments of solitude. In these quiet hours, the subject's mind becomes a battleground, where echoes of conscience clash with a relentless desire for dominance. Clinical studies illustrate this phenomenon. Individuals often experience a profound disconnect from their actions. It is as if they exist in two worlds, one governed by impulse, the other by reflection. The individual may intellectualize their decisions, viewing them as means to an end, yet the emotional toll remains. The mind, a sophisticated labyrinth, constructs barriers to shield itself from the burden of guilt. Yet those barriers are porous. The weight of conscience seeps through, uninvited. Isolation compounds the turmoil. After the case conclusion, the subject finds themselves adrift, cut off from the very society they once navigated with ease. Relationships become strained, friends fade into the background. The solitary confinement of the mind breeds a fertile ground for introspection. Yet introspection is a double-edged sword. It can lead to growth or spiral into despair, as the individual grapples with the chasm between their actions and their moral compass. As days stretch into weeks, the after-effects begin to crystallize. The individual confronts an unsettling truth. Guilt is not merely a consequence of actions, but an intrinsic part of the human experience. It serves as a reminder of the fragile nature of morality, a testament to the complexity of choice. The paradox deepens. The very thing that can destroy them may also become their path to redemption. In this somber reality, the echoes of conscience persist, haunting yet illuminating. The aftermath is not just a conclusion, but a beginning, a chance to understand the tangled web of guilt that binds us all. The journey inward is fraught with challenges, yet it holds the potential for profound transformation, should one dare to embrace it. The implications of guilt extend far beyond the confines of an individual's psyche. They ripple through society, illuminating shadows that dwell in the corners of collective consciousness. An antisocial profile often reflects not only personal turmoil, but also societal fractures. The individual becomes a mirror, reflecting the unresolved tensions within the community, the unspoken fears and the lurking anxieties. When we examine the biological evidence associated with such profiles, we uncover a complex interplay of genetics and environment. Studies have shown that certain predispositions can manifest in individuals, yet these traits do not operate in isolation. They are influenced, shaped, and sometimes exacerbated by the world around them. The family dynamics, socioeconomic conditions, and cultural narratives intertwine, creating a tapestry of guilt that transcends personal responsibility. As we dissect the layers of this psychological landscape, we must confront the paradox at its core. Guilt can both paralyze and propel. For some, it manifests as a heavy shroud, suffocating any glimmer of hope or redemption. Others, however, harness it as a catalyst for change, a force that drives them to seek understanding, to unearth the roots of their actions. This duality poses a profound question. Can guilt be a transformative experience, or does it forever anchor the individual in despair? The consequences of this emotional turmoil are palpable. They echo through the lives of families, friends, and communities. Each case conclusion reverberates, leaving a trail of unaddressed trauma. Those who surround the individual often grapple with their own guilt, questioning their roles, their failures, and their unfulfilled obligations. The cycle of accountability spins, ensnaring not just the individual at its center, but also those orbiting around them. This broader implication prompts a reevaluation of how society approaches rehabilitation and understanding. Are we prepared to confront the uncomfortable truths that emerge from these profiles? To acknowledge the systemic issues that contribute to such behaviors? The ethical dilemmas grow more complex as we consider the ramifications of labeling individuals solely based on their actions, rather than exploring the intricate web of influences that shape them. In the end, the echoes of conscience reverberate beyond the individual. They call for a more nuanced conversation, one that recognizes the multifaceted nature of guilt and accountability. The challenge lies not just in understanding the antisocial profile, but in fostering a dialogue that seeks healing rather than punishment. This is not merely an exploration of the mind. It is a collective journey toward empathy and awareness, a chance to break the cycle of guilt that binds us all.